The gentle night breeze caressed my face as I found myself in one of the most tranquil corners of the temple. The sky was filled with stars, each shining like a beacon of wisdom, and I, Li Wei, a monk dedicated to meditation and the teaching of Buddhist values, felt the depth of the universe in every breath. The silence was almost palpable, as if nature itself was in a state of contemplation, and I couldn't have felt more at peace. I closed my eyes and let my thoughts dissipate like mist at dawn. The distant echo of an owl calling its companions seemed a reminder of the interconnectedness of all beings. What was life, if not a cycle of learning and detachment? Each star in the sky seemed to whisper stories of wisdom accumulated over the centuries, and I felt grateful to be there, in tune with the universe. Li Wei, a voice interrupted my meditation. I opened my eyes and saw a group of young villagers approaching. They were loud, full of laughter and ambitions, and their restless spirit contrasted with the serenity of the temple. One of them, Jian, stood out. The young man was known for his contagious energy, but also for his relentless pursuit of wealth and fame. At that moment, I realized he carried a burning passion, but also a deep restlessness that could ultimately lead him to suffering. "Aren't you tired of sitting there looking at the sky?" Jian asked, with a dismissive smile. "While you meditate, the world outside is full of opportunities. I have great plans, you know. I'm going to be rich and famous, and everyone will know me." I smiled at him, aware that his words reflected an ambitious youth. "The pursuit of wealth and fame can be seductive, Jian, but have you ever stopped to think about what truly brings happiness?" He laughed, as if my question was absurd. "Happiness? Look, Li Wei, I don't have time for that. What matters is being successful, having money, being someone. Those teachings you share are outdated. I want to live life to the fullest, and that means conquering the world." Those words echoed in my mind, and I realized that even with all his energy, Jian was lost. I wanted to help him, but I knew that everyone must walk their own path, and wisdom often comes from difficult experiences. "I understand your passion, Jian, but remember that the true value of life is not in possessions, but in the experiences and connections we make along the way. What you seek may not be what you really need." He rolled his eyes, clearly uninterested in my reflections. "Maybe one day you'll understand me, old sage, but for now I need to go. The party is starting, and I can't miss that." As he walked away, I could hardly imagine that that night would change the course of his life. The temple returned to a reverent silence, and I continued to meditate, feeling tranquility return. Life in the village was simple but full of lessons, and I hoped that someday Jian could see beyond the superficial shine that attracted him so much. Later, as I looked at the stars again, I was filled with a sense of hope. The universe is vast and full of mysteries, and even the most restless of youths could one day find their way. A thought occurred to me. Perhaps the silence of the night could be the key for Jian, an opportunity for reflection he had yet to consider. Time passed, and at some point during the night, the party in the village reached its climax. The sound of music and laughter echoed in the distance, but Jian did not realize that in his pursuit of fun and recognition, he could lose himself even more. After a few hours, as the party began to disperse, Jian decided to return home. However, the darkness of the forest surrounding the village was thick and filled with winding paths. As he walked, he began to realize that he was lost. Fear started to creep into his heart, and instead of feeling powerful, he felt vulnerable and fragile. Every shadow seemed to hide something unknown, and he found himself questioning his choices. "How could I be so reckless?" he murmured to himself, trying to find a familiar path. After wandering for a while, Jian stumbled upon the temple. The soft lights emanating from within seemed like a beacon in the darkness. Curious and a bit apprehensive, He approached, and with a hesitant push, nudged the wooden door open. The interior of the temple was warm and tranquil. The scent of incense and the soft light of candles created an almost magical atmosphere. And there, in the center of the space, was Li Wei, immersed in meditation, as if the outside world did not exist. "Li Wei?" Jian called softly, hoping the monk would hear him. The old man opened his eyes slowly and smiled upon seeing the young man before him. "Jian, what brings you here at this hour?" Li Wei asked, his voice calm and welcoming. I got lost in the forest," Jian confessed, a bit embarrassed. "I was coming back from the party and everything got dark and confusing. I don't know how I got here." Li Wei nodded, as if he understood the nature of Jian's journey, both physical and spiritual. The forest can be an intimidating place, but it is also a good space for reflection. "What do you feel at this moment?" Jian hesitated, the words feeling heavy in his mouth. "I feel fear, confusion, and somehow a strange feeling of being lost, not just physically, but also in life. Sometimes life takes us to unexpected places where we are forced to confront our fears and doubts." "What are you seeking, Jian?" Li Wei asked, looking into the young man's eyes. He sat down on the cold floor of the temple, surrounded by the wisdom and tranquility of the monk. "I seek success, wealth, fame. I want to be someone, have power and respect." Li Wei smiled, but there was a depth in his gaze that made Jian feel there was more to explore. He asked, "Have you ever thought about what will truly bring you lasting satisfaction? What happens when fame fades and money no longer brings joy?" Jian fell silent, Li Wei's words echoing in his mind. He had never considered that his frantic pursuit could be empty. The temple, with its serenity, felt like a refuge, a space where he could confront his own beliefs and question what really mattered. "Maybe I should think about this," he murmured, feeling the weight of his ambitions beginning to dissipate. The party was fun, but now, here, I feel there is something deeper that I need to understand. Li Wei simply smiled, as if he knew Jian was starting to awaken to a new reality. The young man looked around, sensing the presence of the temple as an invitation to introspection. The silence of the night seemed to offer the clarity he had been seeking, and for a brief moment, Jian began to understand that true wealth might be hidden in places he had never considered. The night was shrouded in a deep mantle of silence when I entered Li Wei's temple. The air was infused with the gentle fragrance of incense, and the moonlight filtered through the windows, creating dancing shadows on the stone walls. Li Wei was sitting in a lotus position, the serenity on his face almost illuminating the surroundings. I hesitated for a moment, observing this wise man who seemed to be in a state of transcendence, but my restlessness was greater than my reverence. "Li Wei!" I called, my voice echoing softly. "Are you meditating?" I have some questions." The monk slowly opened his eyes, as if he had been awakened from a deep dream. "Yes, young Jian. What brings you here at this hour of the night?" I sat in front of him, anxiety pulsing through my veins. "I can't understand. Why do you disdain ambition, fame, wealth? These are the goals that everyone aspires to. I want to be someone, to be recognized." Li Wei smiled, a gentle smile that seemed to embrace my frustration. "What are you really seeking, Jian? What do fame and wealth mean to you? They mean everything. They mean power, respect, freedom. Without that, who am I?" I replied, my voice raised. "People respect those who are successful. I don't want to be just another face in the crowd." The monk tilted his head, reflecting. "And what if I told you that true freedom comes from detachment? That happiness is not found in material possessions, but in something deeper?" "How can you know that?" I retorted a little aggressively. "You live here, in a temple, away from it all." You don't know life out there. Li Wei took a deep breath, as if absorbing my anger. Life is a river, Jian. You can navigate its turbulent waters, seeking riches and fame, but often you get lost in the currents. What I have experienced, what I have learned, is that true peace comes from understanding and love. Let me tell you a story. Curiosity began to replace my resistance. What story? I asked, intrigued. Once upon a time, there was a very rich king, Li Wei began. He had everything he could desire, adorned palaces, priceless treasures, and the respect of his people. However, he felt empty, as if a shadow hovered over his heart. One day, he decided he needed to find happiness. He sent messengers to all corners of the kingdom in search of a wise man who could give him the answer. And then, I said, leaning into his words, after a long time, an old wise man met with the king. To find true happiness, the wise man said, you must first look within yourself. The king, confused, replied, but I have everything. What more could I want? The wise man smiled and asked the king to follow him to a lake. There, the wise man asked the king to look at the water. What do you see? I see the reflection of my wealth, I said, trying to imagine myself in the king's place. Yes, continued Li Wei, but the wise man then asked the king to throw a stone into the lake. The king obeyed, and the waves spread, distorting his reflection. See, your majesty, your search for happiness is like this stone. You throw it, but only create confusion. To find what you truly seek, you must look within yourself. True wealth is not external, but internal. And what happened to the king? I asked, absorbing his words. The king, touched by the old man's wisdom, began to meditate and cultivate compassion. He realized that happiness was not in his possessions, but in how he treated others and how he felt about himself. Over time, he became a beloved ruler, respected not for his wealth, but for his kindness and generosity. That's beautiful, but I hesitated. It's easy to talk about this when you have nothing. What if wealth makes you happy? Li Wei looked at me, his deep eyes reflecting an understanding I still could not grasp. Do you believe happiness is a destination, something to be achieved? Or perhaps it is a state of being, something you can find in every moment? What do you prioritize, Jian? The image others have of you, or the truth that resides in your heart? I felt as if Li Wei's words were a current, pulling me into an unknown place. I had always defined my worth by what others thought of me, by the image I created around me. But what if there was something deeper? Maybe I don't know what I want, I said slowly. Maybe I have lost myself in the search. Li Wei smiled again, but this time there was a glimmer of compassion. It's normal to feel lost, Jian. Life is a journey, and each of us must find our own path. The silence of the night offers a space to reflect, to hear the truth that your heart knows. You think I should spend the night here, I asked hesitantly. The idea of staying in a temple, away from the outside world, was intriguing, but also frightening. Yes, Li Wei replied. Allow yourself to experience the stillness. Silence can be a powerful friend. Let it reveal to you what really matters. I paused for a moment, contemplating his words. What did I have to lose? What had fame and wealth really brought me thus far? A knot formed in my throat as I considered the possibility of spending the night there instead of returning to my hectic life. I accept your offer, Li Wei, I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. I will stay. Great, Jian. Prepare yourself to listen. Silence can be more eloquent than any word. As I settled into a corner of the temple, feeling the softness of the wooden floor beneath me, I realized that the night was just beginning. The distant sound of crickets became a mantra, and the moonlight enveloped the temple in a magical aura. That night, I didn't know I was about to embark on a journey that would change everything I knew about myself and what I truly sought in life. The night was cloaked in a mantle of silence, only broken by the incessant chirping of crickets echoing through the forest. When I finally managed to fall asleep, my slumber was interrupted by that hypnotic sound that seemed to resonate within the walls of the temple. The moonlight filtered through the windows, illuminating the space with a soft, silvery glow. Upon opening my eyes, I realized that the serenity of the environment contrasted sharply with the turmoil of thoughts bubbling in my mind. The weight on my heart was almost palpable. I couldn't ignore the feeling that there was something deeper to be discovered within me. I slowly rose and sat on the mat, my eyes fixed on the tranquil figure of Li Wei, who was still meditating with the same calm I had seen before. What did he know that I didn't? What had he found in that silence that I was desperately seeking but couldn't reach? The mystery of life seemed to unfold before me, and I was about to unveil a part of it. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm brewing within me. The chirping of the crickets now sounded like a song, a melody that spoke directly to my soul. Why am I here? I thought as I looked at the monk. What really matters in life? Money, fame, or something deeper? I was so focused on achieving success that I hadn't realized what I was losing along the way. In that moment, Li Wei opened his eyes and saw me. He smiled softly, as if he knew exactly what I was thinking. "Jian," he said in a gentle voice, "why don't you come over here and have some tea with me? The warmth of the tea can help soothe your restless heart." Those words touched me deeply. I stood up and walked over to him, sitting down beside him. Li Wei took a small clay kettle and poured tea into 2 delicate cups. The warm, earthy aroma filled the space between us, and I felt a wave of tranquility begin to settle in my heart. "You seem troubled, young Jian," he said, looking into my eyes. "What weighs on your mind?" I don't know, Master," I replied hesitantly. "Life out there seems so full of promises, but at the same time, I feel like I'm missing something. All my friends are in search of wealth, fame, and I wonder if it's really worth it. I want to be someone, but I don't know if that someone is who I really want to be." Li Wei smiled again, but this time there was a depth in his gaze that made me feel he truly understood my confusion. "They say the pursuit of fame and wealth is like chasing the wind. You can run as much as you want, but you will never catch it. What are you really seeking, Jian?" "I seek recognition," I confessed, my voice trembling. "I want people to see me as someone important. I want them to look at me and feel admiration. But at the same time, I'm afraid that this won't be enough." The monk seemed to ponder for a moment, looking at the cup of tea in his hands. "True importance doesn't come from how others see us, but from how we see ourselves. The value you assign to yourself should not depend on others' opinions. What do you truly value in life, Jian?" Those words resonated within me like a bell echoing in the mountains. I didn't have an answer. Insecurities began to surface in my mind, like shadows dancing in the moonlight. I always thought success was about having money and being known, but now, with you asking me these questions, I no longer know what I really want. Li Wei leaned slightly forward, his eyes fixed on mine. "Sometimes it is in silence that we find the answers we seek. What you desire may be very different from what you think you desire. What do you really want, Jian? Don't be afraid to open up." I felt a wave of vulnerability. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of not being enough. My friends say I'm ambitious, that I should fight for my dreams, but inside I feel like I'm carrying a very heavy burden. "Ah, the burden of expectation," Li Wei said, as if he had heard this confession many times before. "You don't need to carry that weight, Jian. True freedom comes from accepting who you are, regardless of what others think. Sometimes, the pressure to be someone can take us away from who we truly are." Those words penetrated me. I was so focused on being what others expected me to be that I had lost sight of what really mattered. "What would you do, Master, if you were in my place?" I asked, seeking an answer that could illuminate my path. Li Wei smiled serenely. I would seek what brings me joy and peace. I would ask myself, what truly makes me happy? This can be different for each of us. Success, fame, and wealth can be illusions, but true happiness lies in finding a purpose that resonates with your heart. But what if I don't know what that purpose is? I questioned, feeling the anguish grow. What if I spend my whole life without discovering it? Then you allow yourself to explore, he replied, his voice soft as the wind. Life is a journey, not a destination. Each step you take, each experience you live, is an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Don't be afraid to seek, to question, and even to err. The important thing is that you are willing to listen to what your heart has to say. Silence settled between us again, but now there was a new understanding in the air. I looked out the window and saw the moon shining brightly, like a guiding light in the darkness. It was as if each star was a small reminder that there was beauty in the unknown. Thank you, Li Wei, I said, gratitude overflowing in my heart. I'd never thought about this before. I feel like I'm beginning to understand that life can be more than just a game of ambition. You are on the right path, Jian, he affirmed, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. Allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to be. This is the first step to discovering not only who you are, but also who you can become. Hearing his words, I realized that the weight in my heart was starting to dissipate. The pursuit of recognition and fame, which once seemed to be all I wanted, was now becoming a distant shadow. I wanted more than superficialities. I wanted to understand the essence of life and what truly brought joy and meaning. I will remember this, Master, I promised, feeling a new determination grow within me. I want to explore. I want to discover what really matters. Li Wei nodded, a gentle smile on his face. Then keep exploring, young Jian. The path may be long and full of challenges, but the beauty of the journey lies in each step you take. And remember, you are never alone. The universe is always by your side. The night advanced, and the tranquility of the temple seemed to envelop everything around us like a protective cloak. I, Jian, felt that the silence spoke louder than any words I could utter. Li Wei, with his unwavering calm, was sitting across from me, and I could hardly wait to hear more about what he had to say. Jian, Li Wei began, his voice soft as a whisper of wind among the leaves. The present is a gift. Often we get lost in our ambitions, forgetting that true wealth lies in the moments we live. Have you ever stopped to notice the beauty of simplicity? I closed my eyes, trying to absorb his words. I remembered the nights I lay in my bed, surrounded by the objects that made up my world. I had been taught to believe that owning more meant living more, but what did I really have? An emptiness that seemed to expand with each achievement, an insatiable desire that was never satisfied. What do you mean by that? I asked, intrigued. How can I value the present if my mind is always focused on the future, on what I can achieve? Li Wei smiled, as if I had begun to understand an important lesson. Gratitude is the key, my young one. When you focus on what you have, rather than what you still desire, your perspective changes. You start to see the beauty in small things. The song of a bird in the morning, the smell of the earth after rain, the laughter of a child. These moments are often more valuable than any treasure you could accumulate. His words resonated within me. I remembered the times I spent hours counting my money or planning my next big business venture, instead of simply enjoying a sunset or the company of friends. I had missed so many experiences by being so focused on the race for success. And how can I start practicing this? I asked, my curiosity growing. Start small, he advised. Dedicate a moment of your day to reflect on what you are grateful for. It could be something simple like a meal, a smile, or even the air you breathe. When you focus on gratitude, the things that once seemed important lose their weight. I nodded, feeling a subtle shift in my mind. The path I had walked until now seemed so superficial. Listening to Li Wei, a new possibility began to form within me. And for a moment, the idea of following a new path, one that prioritized experiences rather than possessions, felt not only appealing, but essential. So you're telling me that I can change my life, not through the relentless pursuit of wealth, but by valuing what I already have. Exactly. Life is made up of choices, Jian. Each moment is an opportunity to decide how you want to live. What do you truly desire? The question hung in the air like an echo. What did I really desire? The fame and wealth I had always sought, or something deeper, more meaningful? I wanted to be happy, but until that moment, I had never really thought about what that meant. I think I want to find a purpose, I confessed, more to myself than to Li Wei. I want to know what makes me feel alive. He smiled, as if he saw a small ray of light igniting within me. And that is a great start, Jian. Sometimes purpose is hidden in the experiences we live and the connections we make. Allow yourself to feel and live fully. The conversation flowed naturally, and as we spoke about the beauty of the present, I felt a weight dissipating. The ambition that once consumed me was now giving way to a new perspective, one that valued every moment lived. The silence of the night in turn became an ally, a safe space where I could explore my thoughts without external pressures. After a while, the aroma of the tea that Li Wei had prepared filled the air. He offered me a cup, and as I held it in my hands, I felt the warmth radiating from it. It was as if each sip not only warmed my body, but also my soul. Li Wei, I began, hesitating. What if I decide to follow this new path? What if I want to step away from the pursuit of material success? He looked into my eyes, and there was a depth in his gaze that made me feel as if I were being examined. This is a choice only you can make. What matters is that you choose with your heart, not your mind. Sometimes, the hardest decisions lead us to the most beautiful places. A comfortable silence settled between us. I thought about how my life could be different if I allowed this new philosophy to guide my actions. The idea of living with purpose, of valuing what truly mattered, felt increasingly tangible. As the night progressed, the moon illuminated the temple with its soft glow, and I felt at peace. My conversation with Li Wei became a landmark in my life. There, under the stars, I was beginning to understand what it meant to live fully. However, the serenity was interrupted by the first light of morning. Birds began to sing, and with that came the reality of the outside world. I knew that as soon as the sun rose, I would have to face the choices ahead. And as if the universe were conspiring to provoke me, my thoughts were quickly interrupted by a message I received on my cell phone. My heart raced at the sight of a friend's name who had moved to a larger city, where opportunities were abundant. "What do you have there?" Li Wei asked, noticing my distraction. "It's a message from my friend. He's offering me a great business opportunity," I replied, feeling a conflict grow within me. "It's something that could bring me a lot of money and recognition." Li Wei watched me in silence, as if encouraging me to reflect on what I truly wanted. I looked at the screen of my phone, the message glowing like a temptation. The old life I thought I had left behind was calling me back. "What are you going to do?" Li Wei asked, his calm voice reminding me of the importance of choosing wisely. I felt the pressure of doubt invade my mind. The promise of success, wealth, and recognition lured me, but at the same time, the new philosophy I was beginning to embrace told me there might be a different path, one that prioritized experience and authenticity. As the sun began to illuminate the temple, I knew I was at a crossroads. The future unfolding before me was as seductive as it was terrifying. The decision I made would not only change my destiny, but also my perception of myself and what truly mattered in life. The light of day began to dissipate, and the sky was covered in an orange hue as I walked along the dirt path toward the temple. The weight of the decision I had made still hung over me like a dark cloud. Refusing my friend's offer was an act of courage, but at the same time, it left me anxious. With every step, my mind filled with doubts, questioning whether I had truly made the right choice. Upon arriving at the temple, the silence that welcomed me felt deeper than before. The familiar atmosphere now seemed laden with uncertainties. Li Wei, the monk who had become a guide in my life, was sitting in his usual position, serenely meditating. The soft morning light filtered through the leaves of the trees, creating dancing patterns on the stone floor. I hesitated for a moment, observing his calm figure before daring to interrupt that sacred moment. "Li Wei," I called, my voice slightly trembling. "May I speak with you?" He slowly opened his eyes, as if awakening from a deep dream. A gentle smile formed on his lips, and he nodded, indicating I should sit beside him. "Ah, Jian, what brings you back so early?" I sat down, the weight of my choice pressing on me like a rock in my chest. I declined my friend's offer, but now I feel lost. The temptation of material success still haunts me. Did I make the right choice? Li Wei looked at me intently. "Life is full of choices, Jian. Each of them brings its own consequences. The doubt you feel is natural, especially after a significant change. But what if I am making a mistake? Fame and wealth are within my reach, and I let them slip away. What if I regret it? Regret is a burden that many carry." "However," he said, leaning slightly in my direction, "true wisdom does not lie in accumulating wealth, but in finding peace within yourself." I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to absorb his words. The image of the village party, filled with laughter and promises of success, flooded my mind. The pressure to be someone important, to have it all, was a weight I carried. But at the same time, the conversations I had with Li Wei that night at the temple showed me a different path. I don't want to look back and realize that I spent my whole life chasing something that never brought me happiness, I confessed, frustration growing within me. "Then look forward, Jian. What do you really desire?" Li Wei asked, his voice calm like the gentle breeze passing by. I wish to find a purpose, something that makes me feel that my life has value beyond material possessions, I replied, the sincerity in my words surprising me. "A purpose, yes. But remember that purpose is not always evident. Sometimes it reveals itself in small things, in daily interactions, in the love we offer to others, and in the compassion we cultivate in our hearts." Li Wei's words reverberated in my mind. I had been so focused on standing out, on achieving what society valued, that I forgot to look around me. "How can I find this purpose?" I asked, my voice now almost a whisper. "Start observing. Look at nature, at the people around you. What makes them happy? What brings them joy? And more importantly, what brings you joy?" he replied, his serene expression lighting up with a wisdom that seemed to transcend time. As we talked, a gentle breeze began to blow. The sound of the leaves moving was like a soft whisper, encouraging me to move forward. But inside, I still felt divided. The life I had left behind still called my name, like a shadow that refused to disappear. Sometimes, Jian, the answers we seek are within ourselves. Silence can help us hear that inner voice. You might try meditating, just like I do. Allow your thoughts to calm, and you will see that the answers will come, Li Wei suggested with an encouraging look. "And what if I can't let go of the past? What if I can't find this peace?" I asked, the anguish showing in my voice. "You don't have to do this alone. Every step you take is a step toward growth. And even when doubt invades your mind, remember that it is also part of the process. Embrace it as a friend, not as an enemy," he wisely replied. Li Wei's words began to make sense in my mind. The idea of accepting doubt as part of my journey was new, yet at the same time liberating. I didn't need to have all the answers right now. I could simply be, and that was already a start. Thank you, Li Wei. You always know what to say to help me see things from a new perspective, I said, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over my heart. It is a pleasure to help, Jian. Remember, the true journey is the one we take within ourselves. Sometimes you have to get lost to find your way back, he replied, his voice soft like an echo in the mountains. I wish I could spend more time here, learn more from you. Can I come back here every day? I asked, hopeful. Of course, young one. The temple is always open to those who seek the truth. Come whenever you feel the need to reflect and learn, he replied, and a warm smile lit up his face. I stood up and said goodbye to him, feeling a bit lighter. The doubts were still there, but now accompanied by a new understanding. I would begin to observe, to listen, and to accept uncertainties as part of my growth. As I walked back to the village, the sky began to darken and the stars started to shine one by one. I looked up, feeling like a small part of a vast and mysterious universe. The path ahead was uncertain, but now, instead of fear, I felt a spark of hope and curiosity. The journey was just beginning, and I was willing to move forward, one step at a time. The cool night breeze enveloped me as soon as I set foot on the path leading to Li Wei's temple. Each step I took seemed to echo inside me, a reminder of my search for purpose and meaning. Upon arrival, I found the temple illuminated only by the soft light of the moon, and a sense of calm enveloped me. The image of Li Wei in deep meditation made me hesitate for a moment. What would I say to him? How could I articulate the confusion that was building up inside me? I sat down beside him, being careful not to disrupt his peace. The silence was profound, only broken by the sounds of nature around us. I lost myself in thought, recalling the decision I made to refuse my friend's proposal. The truth is, even though I did it for a noble reason, doubt and insecurity began to creep into my mind. What if I made the wrong choice? The question spun in my head like a leaf carried by the wind. Finally, Li Wei opened his eyes, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. "Jian," he said in a soft voice, "what brings you back to the temple tonight?" Just hearing my name spoken by him warmed my heart. "Li Wei," I began hesitantly, I don't know what to think anymore. Since the night I was here before, I have been trying to follow the path you showed me. But it's hard. The pressure to succeed and the temptation to seek wealth are always present. Sometimes I feel like I'm fighting against a raging sea. Li Wei tilted his head, listening to me attentively. The internal struggle is one of the greatest challenges we face in our lives. We have all gone through it. When I was young, I also had ambitions. The pursuit of recognition and material possessions seemed like a safe path to happiness. But how did you overcome that? I asked, intrigued. If you also had those ambitions, what changed? He took a deep breath and began to speak. Over time, I realized that true peace and happiness are not found in external achievements, but within ourselves. What truly matters is how we see ourselves and how we relate to the world around us. His words resonated within me. I had always sought validation through external achievements, but I had never stopped to consider the depth of the connection I could have with my own being. But what if the people around me don't understand this? I asked, insecurity still present in my voice. "Jian," he replied, "the opinion of others only has power over us if we allow it. True freedom comes from living according to our own values and not those imposed on us. When you accept and value yourself, what others think becomes irrelevant." I looked down, allowing his words to penetrate me. It was a liberating vision, yet still terrifying. "So you've never felt lost, like I do now?" Li Wei smiled serenely. "Ah, young one, the feeling of being lost is just a sign that you are searching. That is natural. The important thing is not to let doubt consume you. Learn to listen to your heart and trust your instincts. The journey is as important as the destination. I reflected on this, thinking of the nights I had looked at the sky, hoping to find answers in the stars. What if I don't know what my heart truly desires? I asked, vulnerability exposed. That takes time, he replied. Meditation and introspection are powerful tools. They help silence the external noise and listen to the wisdom already within you. Allow yourself to explore your passions without fear of what the world may think. I remained silent, pondering his words. The idea of exploring my passions, allowing myself to be vulnerable and open to the unknown, was both frightening and exciting. I realized that the true struggle was not just the pursuit of success, but the internal battle between what I desired and what I thought I should want. Before departing, a question arose in my mind, one I had not considered before. Li Wei, how did you become who you are? What led you to leave everything behind? He looked at me for a moment, as if measuring his next step. Life is full of choices, Jian. I was a prince in my kingdom, surrounded by wealth and privilege. But amid all of that, I could not find happiness. I saw people suffering, and my heart broke upon realizing that wealth did not bring contentment. So, I decided to leave everything behind and seek true happiness within myself. His words struck my heart like lightning. Li Wei, the wise monk I admired, was actually a prince who abandoned his life of luxury. What I thought was a simple path to wisdom had deep roots in his own experiences and sacrifices. So you left your life of riches to seek wisdom? I asked, astonished. Yes, he replied, and that choice has brought me more peace than any gold or fame could provide. True wealth lies in knowing oneself, in understanding what really matters in life. It is wisdom and compassion that make us truly rich. Li Wei's words left an indelible mark on me. I realized that the pursuit of fame and fortune was an illusion, a veil covering the true essence of life. True wealth was not in external achievements, but in the inner peace I could cultivate. Saying goodbye to Li Wei, I left the temple with a new perspective. The journey would not be easy, but now I had an internal compass to guide me. The wisdom he shared with me gave me the courage to face the world, not as an ambitious young man, but as someone in search of authenticity and purpose. And so, as I walked under the starry sky, I knew that the true journey was just beginning. Now let's take a brief reflection. This story teaches us that often we lose ourselves in the pursuit of external achievements, such as fame and wealth, believing that we will find true happiness in them. But as the monk Li Wei shows us, peace and contentment are found within, in silence, reflection, and simplicity. Instead of letting ourselves be carried away by the pressures of the world, it is important to cultivate self-knowledge and self-love. And you, what did this story make you reflect on? What lessons do you take from Jian's journey into your life? Leave your comment below and share your reflections. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more stories of wisdom and transformation. Watch the upcoming videos. You will be surprised by other beautiful and profound stories. Until the next video.